In this short video, I'm going to explain the Dataviewer facility within ModelRisk. There are two different ways in which the Dataviewer works. One is when you have samples from a set of variables, which is I'm going to use here, the California crime rates in different cities. The other way is when you're looking at time series data. So let's first of all look at this crime series statistics. I select the data, and then I go into Dataviewer. It asks me if I want to put some labels in. Indeed, I do. It shows me the data type to confirm these are multivariate data. The data in columns is data, not a time series, and I just click on OK. Once I've done that, this new window appears, and you'll see that you have the histograms of each of the individual variables and a scatter plot of how each variable relates to the next. I can do a number of different things with this data. I can show it in terms of percentiles on the scatter plots. I can look at the logs of the data. Sometimes the logs are very helpful in being able to see the shapes where you have a lot of values in the low end. I can change the way that these graphs are shown to put labels on each axis, like this. I can also go and look at a univariate data analysis, so by clicking on this tab. And here you will see a histogram of that first variable, robbery, but I can choose any of the others, assault, for example. You have a histogram, you have a cumulative curve, you have a box plot. I'll also move some of these bars around and investigate the certain percentiles of the distribution. I can change the values in here, so I can look for the 50th percentile. I can look for the 90th percentile, for example, and you'll see them graphed here. I'm able to produce a report in the spreadsheet by clicking on the Create Report button, and it tells me I have a number of different options about what I want to put in that report. I can add a percentile if I want. I can change the number of histogram bars. I can use a log scale. I can also do the same thing in a multivariate data analysis. So here I can select any two variables and look at the relationship. So here you can see we've got the assaults and we've got the robbery, but I can click anywhere in these matrices, this matrix, and you can see the combinations change in the graph. I can move the sliders around if I want to look at a particular subset of the data, for example. I can click on Show Filtered if I just want to look at the statistics associated with that subset of the data. Once I've completed everything, I can click on the report if I wish, and then ModelRisk will create a spreadsheet with all of these data and the calculations that I've selected. You can see all of the individual graphs here. The second way that I can use the data viewer is on time series data. So I can take these prices of fuels going from 2003 to 2017, select the data, click on the data viewer. I can assign labels like before. And I can say that it's a time series and optionally select the timestamp. And click on OK. And now I see a different view. For each variable, we have a time series being plotted and the scatter plot from one moment to another of each of the individual variables against each other. Now I can look at a subset of these data. I can see how that a certain amount of data evolves over time. So for example, I can take a small set and hit the play button. And then you can see how the correlation patterns are changing over time alongside with the time series. I can look at log returns. I can put labels around the graphs if I wish. I can assign trend lines. I can play the video, if you like, in log returns as well. And I have, again, two other tabs. Here we've got the Univariate time series. So I can look at here, one of the variables, we've got West Texas Intermediate Oil. I can change that to, say, conventional gasoline. I can look at a number of different basic statistics associated with them. So for example, the moving average, I can change that to, say, a 30-day moving average. You can see how that compares against the data. I can do the same thing for the standard deviation. If maybe I want to see if that standard deviation is changing over time, whether it's constant or it's more volatile at some periods, as clearly it is. I can add a linear regression. I can look at seasonality, if there was some seasonality in here. I can look at log returns. And I can also look at the same sort of ideas, but in a multivariate time series. So I can compare, say, two series against each other. Here we've got the conventional gasoline and reformulated gasoline prices. And you can see that they're highly correlated, except at some moments there is a strong deviation from one to the other. Again, I can run videos if I want, or look at subsets if I wish. I can look at scatter plots. So here we've got a scatter plot, let's say, of the log returns. You can see if these log returns are changing over time. I can look at the percentiles. I can create any different size video that I might be interested in. So the idea of the data viewer is simply to allow you to explore your data a little bit more, to understand perhaps whether the correlations are stable or if there are periods when there are less and more correlation. You understand the relationships between the variables for which you have data, so that you can have a more informed idea about how you might fit distributions to your data, or you might fit correlation structures or time series, how you might use your data in your risk analysis. Thank you.